Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever around the world you're listening to this. I am Shalom Soloranju, and I'll be your host for today. Welcome to Light Up. My host today will be Emmanuel Oluwabi, our co host. The topic for today is fear over faith. No, faith over fear, sorry. So, this story is going to be about Esther. Esther was a Jewish orphan until her older cousin Mordecai was able to adopt her and treat her as his own daughter. King Vashti was originally the king for the area they were in, but was removed as king, and another king chose Esther to be the queen of, even though she was a Jewish orphan. However, they didn't know that she was a Jewish orphan. Mordecai told her to not tell them about how she was Jewish and to keep it to herself. Mordecai Haman was a high known like official that did not like Mordecai because he refused to bow down to him and was trying to convince the king to kill all of the Jews in the area. Mordecai told Esther that she should try to convince the king to not listen to Haman and to let the Jews be free. Esther fasted, and later on she got the courage to ask the king about going to the banquet, and she also invited Haman. Once they got to the banquet, Esther told them about how she was a Jewish orphan, and she told them about how she was like a Jewish, and they also told and she also told them about how Haman was trying to get rid of all of the Jews in the area. After the king found out, he told his servants people to hang Haman in the area that Mordecai was supposed to be hung. A new decree was issued where the Jews could fight for themselves and they didn't have to listen to other people, and they ended up defeating their enemies. What do you think about what happened in this story?
One thing I know is that this matches with the title because when it says faith over fear, it's talking about how Esther was able to have faith and wasn't scared to go to the king because in that time when you go to the king and he doesn't give you like an invitation or tells you to come, they can kill you. But she said that if she perishes. So she had faith and didn't fear anyone. And when we come to faith, it's like fasting and prayer because if she never had faith, Mordecai and all the other Jews would have been killed. What do you think about that?
I agree with you, and I think that if this was something that happened in real time where like for example, you maybe somebody was bullying you or something, and they I don't know how to say this, but if you were just like, oh, they're gonna defeat me, there's nothing I can do about this, then they would most likely just continue bullying you until you do something that you regret. But if you were to have faith, pray to God, and just believe with no doubt that He can do anything for you, then that'd be really helpful to you, because you would end up maybe standing up to the bully and telling them that what you're doing to me is not right. And you could even pray for them so that they know what to do in the future. This connects to two lessons that we have about this story. The first one about how Esther sacrificed a lot of things, because if the king was a wicked person like the original king, he would have he wouldn't care about Esther's like opinion on the stuff, and he could possibly even agree with Haman that all of the Jews were supposed to be killed. But Esther didn't care, and she cared a lot about the Jews, which included Mordecai, and she decided to just do it anyway. Another one of the lessons is that she had faith. If she had didn't have faith in God, she would end up being too scared to tell the king, and possibly all of the Jews in that area would have gotten killed. What do you think about that?
I agree with you because when you were talking about faith, that brings along to how she told Mordecai and to gather up some other Jews and also told her servants that she would be fasting and praying because that means that in the Bible it says that we should pray without ceasing. And Esther did the exact thing. And also, when you were talking about bullying, you said that even if they like if they continue bullying you, even if you stand up to them and just pray for them, and if they still don't, you God will punish them later. You don't have to do anything in your action just to do something you'll regret, just like you said that you'll regret later. So Esther didn't have any fear to just go up to the king and tell him that she wanted to have a banquet with him and Haman because and she did that all because she wanted to save the Jews, which means that she did wasn't only doing it for herself. She was saving all of her people, which are the Jews. What do you think about that?
I agree with you, which also connects again to our topic about how we should have faith over fear. Esther was very brave, and she decided to go up to the king and tell him about how she was a Jew, which that could have taken a whole nother turn. And he could have been like, oh, we need to kill you because you're also a Jew, which we didn't know about. But he decided that she was right and, oh, we should definitely do something about Haman, which also connects to the part about how you were saying that, like, we should pray for people so that whatever they're going through, they can, like, get better at it. Because with Haman or Haman, he was like, all because of Mordecai. He was like, oh, just because of Mordecai and him not bowing down to me, this means that like all Jews might act the same way. So we need to get rid of them. But if we were to like, if Esther would have prayed for him, possibly he would have changed his mind and God would come into his heart and tell him that, oh, it's not just because Mordecai didn't want to bow down to you doesn't mean that he's like a bad person. Possibly he could have not wanted to bow down to him because like he only serves God. What do you think about that?
I agree with you because when we're talking about Mordecai, Mordecai has a lot of faith and he would never give up on God. Like when he was gonna get hung up, and he knew that because they said that in plain sight, and then he still didn't bow down to them. He just continued standing up and resuming what he was doing before. He didn't do anything to them. He didn't have anything to do with them, but only because Haman was jealous that not the Jews, one of the Jews weren't bowing down to him, but he wants to kill all of them, which really doesn't make sense because it was just Mordecai. Why are you killing a whole like why are you killing a whole group of people just because of one person because they don't bow down to you? And you could just do something else besides punishing everybody that is a Jew because that wouldn't make any sense. What do you think about that?
I agree with you. And another lesson that we can apply with Esther's story and how she helped the Jews is that you should always embrace who you are. It doesn't matter whether you're like black, Caucasian, Hispanic, or some other kind of race, because God will accept you no matter what. And with Esther, she told the king about how she was a Jew. And in the beginning, she should have already told him that she was a Jew because she should embrace that she was a Jew. Because if she had already told him, the whole story could have like changed into something else. And it's always good to be proud of who you are because you were made in God's image and you should always be proud of that. What do you think about that?
What I think about that is I agree with you because you should be able to embrace who you are. Like you shouldn't just hide what you are. Like this is what's cool. You couldn't just hide what your hobbies are and what things you do like because you're the one saying that you don't make any friends even though you don't try communicating to anyone. And I also agree with you on one of the things you just said before this was how we should be studying faith. Because if you're gonna believe in God and have no faith, you are there's no point because you're going to say that you believe God, but then you disregard your faith. You ignore it completely. What do you think about that?
I agree with you, and I think that we should always learn to be who we are because if we attempt to fit in, we could possibly start doing things that are ungodly. For example, if you were like, maybe you were hanging out with your friends and possibly they told you that, oh, we're so cool because we smoke cigarettes and stuff. You should really do it too if you want to continue being friends with us. Because, first of all, that's peer pressure. And another thing is they're trying to convince you, which is similar to peer pressure, but they're trying to convince you and change your mind about cigarettes because you could originally already think that cigarettes are terrible for my body, so why should I ever be taking them? But since they're your friends, you might start to think like, oh, cigarettes can't be that bad. So then you take one, but then that gets you into a whole scandal and your parents end up finding out. That wouldn't be good. But if you had just stayed true to yourself and you told them, like, I'm a Christian and I don't do that kind of stuff. I do not smoke cigarettes and I'm not, and even if you guys don't want to be friends with me because I don't smoke cigarettes, that's fine. Because that would mean they're a bad influence on you. And at the same time, earlier, about how we were talking about praying for others so that they can stop doing the evil things that they're doing, that would be a good time to pray for those people because you don't know how they could have like started smoking. They could have started smoking because like maybe peer pressure too because that's one of the main reasons a lot of people do this kind of stuff. Or it could be from another kind of influence, possibly their parents or maybe a family member, something like that. This is like a reminder about about how you should stay true to yourself and not always trust other people because you don't know what the other people out there do. What do you think about that?
I agree with you because when you're talking about peer pressure and embracing yourself with what you do, your hobbies, what you like, you can't just say just because you want to be just like this set of friends, you change everything that you do with things that you probably just don't like, but you only do it because you want to impress others and say that you're this, you're that. And then when it comes to embracing yourself, if Esther never fully embraced herself, saying that she was a Jew, she probably would have changed her whole ethnicity by herself. She would have probably said that I'm a Hebrew, and instead of saying that I'm a Jew, and then she could have got all the other Jews killed, including Mordecai, just because of what she said. Another lesson we can say about from that is what we've been saying for this most time, that we should be able to embrace what we think, what we are, what we like, what we do, our hobbies, anything. We should embrace it and we shouldn't just try to fit in because of peer pressure. Because if Esther did that, she would get all the Jews killed. What do you think about that?
Okay, so I think that's a wrap for today. Some of the things we could learn from Esther's story is one, that we should always be brave and help others because in the future they could reward you. Two is that we should always embrace ourselves and know who we are because you can't always just lie to someone because you want to fit in. And lastly, to always have faith in God because He is your Lord and Savior and He's always going to help you in what you're doing. Is there any other lessons you would like to add on to that?
Mm, no.
Okay. Thank you for watching this light up video. Make sure to share, comment, like, and subscribe. Bye.
Bye.